Thanks for joining, everyone. We're just going to give it another minute or so and allow everyone else to kind of join. We'll get started here shortly. Nice to see everyone kind of joining in here. Just another minute. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and we'll get started here. I think other people may join as we continue to go through, but I wanted to welcome you today. Thank you all for joining our webinar. It's jointly hosted today by Akeneo and Elysian, featuring Leatherman tools and their journey from legacy PIM to streamlined efficiency with Akeneo. Please note this webinar will be recorded and distributed to those that have registered. And if you have questions throughout today's session, please put them in the QA window, and we'll address the questions during the final few minutes of our time together. And please note, everyone except our speakers are on mute for today's webinar. And today we'll be discussing, why Leatherman Tool Group chose Akeneo as their PIM solution and how their partnership with Elysian helped to enhance customer experience, accelerate time to market, and lay the groundwork for future expansion. So let's dive in. So first of all, I'm Tom Hedgecoth. I'm the e-commerce and the PIM practice leader at Elysian. And for the last 20 years, I've had the pleasure of working directly with at the intersection of CRM, PIM, and e-commerce as a consultant to create value for clients and businesses. And I've always been kind of pulled in by how these three areas intertwine to provide business growth. And today I kind of look forward to diving into some of those areas. I'm going to be your moderator for today's discussion. But before we jump in, to the meat of today's discussion, I did want to take a moment to introduce Elysian. At Elysian, we live our mission out loud. We deliver smart and adaptive tech solutions that go beyond the implementation to optimize business value. And so it's a question of what does that mean, right? So we're a strategic implementation partner when it comes to unlocking the value of product information with PIMs like Akeneo. We live to solve product data challenges with long-term solutions. And to us, it's never about just turning on a switch, right? It's about making technology work for our clients in meaningful ways. It's about creating long-lasting, impactful solutions that help save time, save money, and better help our clients better engage with their customers. So in short, we're not your typical implementation provider. We don't strive to be. We go above and beyond in everything that we do so that everyone that we work with gets the best of both worlds, the expertise of a bigger company and the personalization of a specialized one. So, with that, and I also want to make sure that you have a full understanding of Akeneo. So, and what makes their PIM solution so special. So Akeneo is a global leader in product experience management, or PXM, and product activation, helping organizations unlock growth opportunities by delivering a consistent and compelling product experience across all channels, including e-commerce, mobile, print, points of sale, and beyond. With its open platform, leading PIM, add-ons, connectors, and marketplace, the Akeneo Product Cloud dramatically improves product data quality and accuracy, simplifies catalog management, and accelerates the sharing of product information across owned and unknown channels and locales. So Akeneo basically has over 700 enterprise edition customers, leading global brand manufacturers, distributors, and retailers trust Akeneo to scale and customize their omnichannel e-commerce initiatives to drive improved customer experiences, increase sales, reduce time to market, accelerated expansion, and increased team productivity. They are also committed to building and maintaining a world-class ecosystem of partners who deliver expertise, comprehensive services, and innovative technologies to help their customers better collect, enrich, and manage their product information. They have over 200 partners from all over the globe to help you meet your e-commerce, PIM, or PXM goals. And then lastly, we want to introduce our featured client for today's call, Leatherman Tools. For 40 years, Leatherman has been providing multi-tools for consumers around the world, from everyday essentials to knives, accessories, and apparel. Leatherman is committed to providing consumers the best multi-purpose products to help them solve expected and unexpected problems in everyday life. So today we have two esteemed guests, and I want to make sure that we introduce them as we get started. So this is Liz Lee and Greg Basami. So Liz Lee is the IT director at Leatherman Tool Company and is an accomplished IT professional with a remarkable 12-year tenure at Leatherman, where she has made significant contributions to the company's technological landscape. Liz began her journey in e-commerce and has taken on the role of a senior director of IT, leading the charge in shaping Leatherman's technology vision. And throughout her career, Liz has demonstrated a genuine passion for aligning business strategy with technology. Her enthusiasm for cross-functional and transformative projects has been the driving force behind Leatherman's digital transformation. And under her guidance, Leatherman successfully established its e-commerce platform and implemented cloud-based ERP, CRM, and business intelligence solutions. Likewise, I also want to introduce Greg Basami. Greg, he has 10 plus years of experience in sales and sales leadership, primarily working in the digital advertising and e-commerce space. Greg currently works as the director of sales at Akeneo, leading the commercial sales team in North America, helping brands, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers unlock growth by providing exceptional product experiences to their customers across every touch point. Prior to Akeneo, Greg worked at Criteo, which is a global leader in the ad tech and digital marketing space, and for 8 years as a leader in their mid-market sales organization in North America. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's get into it. So let's go ahead and get into it. Liz, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to take us, first question to you, Liz. There you are. So take us back 6 months, right? So we'd love to understand the situation at Leatherman. What was that like? What was the situation that Leatherman, I guess, was in from a product information management perspective? And ultimately, what drove you to search for a PIM to begin with?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. So let me explain a little bit about where we were at with our old PIM. It was an outdated homegrown solution. And I'd say it did meet our needs 10 years ago. But since then, our product offering has grown, our sales channels have grown, our teams and processes have evolved, and technology's changed. And sadly, our PIM has not. It was slow. It was a clunky user interface. It didn't really do the data validation we needed. So we had bad data getting into our system. There really wasn't great search functionality. Navigation was super rigid. And it was really narrowly focused on supporting just one of our sales channels. So a lot of our teams had been clamoring for something new, and we started looking at our PIM options. But overall, our objectives for our PIM project were, first, we wanted a single source of truth for all of our product data. Second, we wanted accurate and trustworthy product information that anyone in the organization could easily find. Third, we wanted streamlined work processes that eliminate redundancy and some of the inefficient stuff that we were doing. And then lastly, we wanted freedom and flexibility to merchandise our products across our sales channels. We had been pretty narrowly focused on just our e-commerce website, but a big strategic pillar for us has been expanding our marketplace footprint, and we needed a PIM to help us do that.
I gotcha. That's great. So when you were looking at PIMs, what made Akeneo stand out?
Well, I'd say first, we ran a pretty thorough selection process to choose this software. We had stakeholders from IT, from product, from brand marketing and e-commerce helping to build the requirements, evaluate RFPs, attend demos, and ultimately make that final decision about who we went with. So to start with, Akeneo met all of our 100 plus requirements for a PIM. A few of the more important requirements, I'd say, and this one's really important to me because I'm IT, but it had to be SaaS. We wanted a truly modern multi-tenant SaaS solution with strong security built in. Our developers wanted a strong API, so we'd have a lot of flexibility in how we pull and push data with the system. We also wanted pre-built integrations with some of the other solutions in our tech stack. So Salesforce Commerce Cloud is our e-commerce platform. Binders are DAM. TransPerfect is what we use for language localization. And Akeneo has a really strong network of partnerships with various other solution providers. And then what really stood out to us through the demo process was the user interface for Akeneo. It was modern, it was super intuitive, and easy to use for our users.
I gotcha. So it was only 100 plus requirements for your PIM. Huh?
That's it.
So great. So Greg, let me get from your perspective. What made Leatherman an ideal candidate for Akeneo PIM? So I mean, what do you remember about them reaching out to you with their 100 plus requirements, and your sales team that made this sort of a successful partnership?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Great question. Really, there were a few overarching themes that stood out in our initial conversations from the onset that made Leatherman really a great fit for the Akeneo PIM. One, as Liz said, her and her team were looking to upgrade their outdated homegrown PIM for a more modern SaaS-based PIM to not only fit into their current architecture, but also as a future-proof solution as they continue to undergo a digital transformation across the organization. Second, another key piece that stood out as more of a higher level theme was that their main strategic initiative was to diversify and open up new sales channels and markets. And then finally, key stakeholders from across Leatherman, marketing, product, e-com, et cetera, were really needing a place where they could easily access and work on product information in an easy and collaborative manner. So those are three areas that really stood out in those initial conversations prior to maybe seeing all 100 of those requirements that really made it seem like these are areas where Akeneo excels. The extensibility of the platform, as Liz mentioned, our connectivity with our partners, the ability to easily integrate any and all systems, our strong data governance and flexibility when it comes to product information management for not just e-com, but across all channels and markets. And then ease of use with that, modern UI so that all teams feel empowered to really get the most out of the platform. So from the get-go, there was a lot to be excited about with this partnership and how we can collaborate with the Leatherman team on a successful venture.
Yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming, actually, for clients, not only to select the right technology, but then to think about all that goes into, to implementing the platform. So sticking with you, Greg, what in the process that, at what point, I guess, in that whole process did you think to sort of bring Allegion in, and how did you know that Allegion was the right partner, for Leatherman?
Yeah, absolutely. From the beginning, Liz was very clear. First, they wanted to select the platform, and then they wanted to select the implementation partner. But with that being said, we always knew Allegion would be a great fit for Liz and the Leatherman project. For starters, Allegion has an extensive background in e-commerce and specifically with Salesforce Commerce Cloud, which was part of the stack. And when it really came time to make a recommendation, we really care about who we think is going to be the best fit and would mesh well with Liz and the rest of the Leatherman team. So knowing Allegion not only had the technical acumen, but the dynamic personalities to go along with it, it was really a no-brainer to make this introduction.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's good to hear. So Liz, let me ask you, is there anything that you want to add about your part of the selection process?
Well, like Greg said, Allegion was definitely who Akeneo recommended from the beginning. I like to be really thorough and do my due diligence. So we actually looked at more than one option for our implementation. But in the end, it was a really clear decision for us to go with Allegion. From the beginning, they made us feel really comfortable. We liked the team. We got to meet the people who would actually be assigned on our project, which is always so important to me. That way we could tell the team really had a wealth of knowledge, there was good experience there, and we knew that the personalities would work well with our internal team.
Yeah, that's great. So we're kind of have you on your journey, right? You go through, you've selected Akeneo, you've figured out who your partner is going to be in Allegion. And so I'd love to kind of transition, I guess, to the Leatherman Akeneo instance specifically. And so Liz, when you think about all the aspects of Akeneo, from the user experience to channels and locales, attributes, product families, and what has stood out, I'm just kind of curious, what stood out to you throughout the past several months as a particular aha moments that's caused you to pause and say, we know Akeneo is the right tool for us?
Yeah, I'll say I've been through quite a few software selections and implementations, and honestly, so often you get into the implementation and you realize the software isn't quite what you thought it was. You realize there's some limitations or gotchas or things don't work quite as well as you wanted them to. But this has been the exact opposite experience with Akeneo. And that's been so refreshing. Our team really loves the tool more and more all the time. Our dev team has really enjoyed working with it. They feel like they have all the tools they need. Our users love the interface. They found it easy to work with. We really like the product models, the families, and the rules. Those have all been super flexible for our needs. So overall, the team is feeling really empowered with the tool. So it's worked out really well for us.
That's great. That's great to hear. So I mean, keeping with you, Liz, I know you and I have talked about, you've got quite a strong group of team members across, several internal teams that have been certainly our subject matter experts throughout your implementation. We'd love to kind of hear your perspective on how you mobilized, all of those employees internally, but not only for implementation, but also to gain, excitement and ultimately support, for, such an important part of your digital transformation.
Yeah, like you said, it starts with a really strong cross-functional group from the very beginning of the project. So we had representatives from IT, product, e-com, brand marketing, all helping to decide the goals and the requirements for this project from the beginning. And then that same team selected the software as well as the implementation partner. They worked really closely with Akeneo and Elysian on the implementation, and then they are the ones that are training and championing the tool with their counterparts out in the business. So I'd say giving your key stakeholders a voice at the very beginning of the project really helps ensure their support and their excitement all the way through implementation and adoption.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like you gave your SMEs a voice all the way, even way up in the beginning, selecting the platform and ultimately the partner all the way through the project, and then they become advocates thereafter. So yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So before we transition to a few minutes of Q&A, I'd love to get a final thought from you, Greg, and for just really for those that are attending today and maybe kind of considering a PIM, but they may not know where to start, and quite frankly, kind of feeling overwhelmed. Where would you direct them?
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy process to sort of get started. As Liz and her team demonstrated, they had a really good understanding of sort of where they were in their digital transformation. For a little bit of help, Akeneo actually has a great resource called our PXM assessment. I think we linked it at the end here, and you can find it on our website. But it's a 14-question survey that really gives you an understanding of where you are on what we call your PXM stage of maturity, right? Where are you in this journey to unlocking your product information to deliver great product experiences for all your customers? And there's no bad place to be. It's really just, a good starting point. I'll also say that there's no bad time to start with a PIM, right? We, and our network of partners will help you get started and then start to mature on that path to really make sure you're harnessing the power of your product information in all the best ways.
Yeah, that's great. And the assessment, the assessment is great because no matter kind of where you are in that journey, starting out or kind of midway, you have something looking to replace. It kind of covers. It's pretty comprehensive. So yeah, that's wonderful. Liz, let me ask you a similar question. Any closing thoughts, from your end on how Akeneo has transformed, ways of working within Leatherman?
Yeah, I mean, closing thoughts, I just feel really great about where we've ended up with this project. It's been a really fantastic experience working with both Elysian and Akeneo. At the end of the day, we feel like we've accomplished those goals that we set out for ourselves on the project. So thank you to both teams for making us successful in that.
It's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause our conversation there, and because I do want to make sure we have time for some questions. And let me take a look over here. Yeah, we do have a few that have kind of come in, into the chat as we're kind of going through here. So I want to address those. So the first one here, Greg, let me ask you this. When a client is preparing for a PIM implementation, what are a few things that you recommend doing to ensure that their implementation goes smoothly? That's
Yep.
the gist.
Yeah, great question. As our head of professional services likes to say, it's doing your homework, right? There's really 3 areas that you can start to work to identify and get ahead of before starting that implementation project. One is your data quality, right? Begin cleansing your data to jumpstart your PIM project. by putting high quality data into the PIM, it'll help set the foundation, ensure that you can leverage all the very best that Akinio has to offer. Next is your resources, right? Yes, you have Akinio and an Elysian to help with the project, but you need to be very much involved and make sure your resources are lined up. That will be the biggest key to how quickly the implementation can actually get done. Everyone from your executive sponsor down to your day-to-day business people, ensuring that they're on time and on task, and we can get these projects done as quickly as possible. And the last is, why are you doing a PIM, right? Really identify your key your key business objectives, so that you can help get that executive and internal buy-in, to help again really make sure those resources are available and bought into why you're undergoing this project. Julia, who I mentioned, Julia Frenette, our head of professional services, actually put out a great blog post detailing all of these key points, that you can find either on our website, or again, I think we linked it at the end of this presentation. There's also really great deliverables that she's included as well to help you assess where you are in relation to all three of these topics as you prepare for your projects.
Yeah, that's great. That was thorough. Thank you, Greg, for that. So Liz, I'm going to give one to you here. So what is the change management process been like, I guess, internally, now that you have Akinio part of your tech stack?
Yeah. When I think of change management, I go back to the ADKAR model. So awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement, if you can remember all those. Some of the things I mentioned earlier, stakeholders involved from the beginning. So they were highly aware, they were very motivated to move forward onto something new. That's kind of an easy place to start, is they really didn't like where we were. So there was tons of motivation to move on to something better. But Elysian really helped us with giving our people the knowledge they needed and the training, having them demonstrate their ability by doing some of the work themselves within the tools. So not just having the consultant hand you over the finished product, but working closely together and having our users within the tool doing some of the work so that they feel trained and empowered by the time that everything's handed off to us. Yeah. And I think also, just in terms of reinforcement, the Akinio completeness scoring to help us with our data quality and ensuring that we're keeping up with these new practices and processes that we've put in place to ensure that our product information is good, has been really helpful, helped us find areas where we need to kind of course correct and get people on the right track.
Gotcha. Yeah. ADKAR, right? A lot to remember. That's the acronym. So, sounds good. So we have another one here. Let me go ahead and pull this one in. So Greg, we're going to go back to you. So what stood out about the way that Leatherman approached their software selection that you would recommend to others?
Yeah, I mean, as Liz said, and I think we've kind of hit on a couple of times, 100+ requirements in their vendor selection. And really, this just was so impressive, the level of mastery they had on their own business. Liz and her team clearly had an understanding of what use cases they were trying to solve and why they needed a modern PIM. And it really enabled us to, show them exactly why Akinio was the best fit. This really all came to a culmination in their demo script that they put together. I think our large demo was about 3 hours. They sent over a whole script, all the key stakeholders, and really allowed us to give them a true lens into what day-to-day life would look like with Akinio. And that was key to, to earning their trust and really building a strong foundation for a partnership.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of sticking with those 100 or so requirements, I see a question and it said, so does Liz have any additional tips on compiling the criteria for the PIM or software? She mentioned their team had 100 requirements. It would be great to hear more about how they arrived at that and who was involved.
Yeah, so I always start that process with identifying my key stakeholders. So identifying each of the groups that interact with the PIM in some way. Maybe they even don't even use it, but they use some kind of output of it. so we identify those key groups and then who those users will be. Then we come up with a list of questions for each of those groups. And some of the questions are the same. Some of the questions are really specific to them, just to help pull out what some of those requirements are. So having them map their process as it is today, identify pain points, what they'd like their process to be in the future, what features are missing for them, what would they, how would they like to improve their processes, things like that. So from each stakeholder group, we compile all of these requirements. Then we do some prioritization exercises because everybody wants everything. So we kind of force people to force rank those things so that we really know what the must-haves are versus the nice-to-haves. That process takes a little while, but it really gives us a complete view into what we're looking for. We kind of categorize things into different buckets, and that's what helps us build that full list of requirements for our RFP.
I gotcha. That's great. And it's really important, right? Because I mean, it's, as Greg was saying, it was because you had all of that pulled together, it made it a lot easier for Akeneo to come in and kind of demonstrate, how the platform could solve those problems for you. So that's great. Wonderful. So we have another one here. What were some of the biggest hurdles that Leatherman experienced in integrating with a PIM?
Yeah, I would say the biggest hurdles aren't necessarily technical. They're more, business process or legacy hurdles. So, for example, with our e-commerce platform, we'd been using it for 13 years or so. So there was all sorts of kind of crazy things that we had done over the years in terms of product data within that e-com platform and our old PIM. And so now it's kind of trying to tease out, okay, what's there because it needs to be there and what's there just because that's what we did 13 years ago. So it's just more like the business decisions around what we want moving forward and what we're willing to change as we go through this implementation. I'd say another one would be data quality on kind of the other side. So like with the DAM, for example, our digital assets. Did we have good tagging in place so that, Akeneo could easily pick up the right assets from that system? Not necessarily. So there's a little bit of work there on our side to get the data quality right on the other system side to make sure everything integrates well.
I gotcha. That's great. That's good. And then I think just time for, we have one more here. So this would be to you, Liz. It sounds like, was scalability a key requirement, and did Akeneo satisfy those scalability requirements?
Yeah, I mean, we're not a company that has a ton of SKUs. I know there's companies out there with thousands and thousands, and that's not necessarily us. So that wasn't a huge concern for me in terms of scalability from that perspective. But certainly we wanted a technology partner who was continuously evolving, always improving, staying up to date. That was really important to me. And that's more what I think of with scalability, as well as keeping up to date with the sales channels that we want to integrate with.
Yeah. It's important that the technology evolves as your company evolves too, right? So that's great. So with that said, I see the time, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of close the Q&A, I guess, at that point. And then Liz and Greg, I want to, I can't thank you enough, for your time and insight today. We truly appreciate you joining us. For the audience, if today's conversation did pique your interest in, on Akeneo PIM, then please, reach out to info@elysian.com. And we would love to have a conversation, to learn more about your organization and determine if Akeneo PIM, may be a great solution, to help your organization's go-to-market strategy. Some of the resources, mentioned today in today's webinar can be accessed by the QR codes that are on your screen. Don't worry, you'll also receive those in the recap email from today's session. So thank you, to everyone for joining today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.